All right, then let's get started. My goal today is to explain knowledge management to newcomers, so people who have not heard about the term or have just read about PKM but don't really know or understand what it is and how it works. And so, yeah, just going to start from the basics. So, what are the problems that we face as knowledge workers, and what are the possible solutions to those problems, or at least parts of the solution? Actually, we share common issues, I think, among knowledge workers, anyone dealing with a ton of digital information. So the first one is, of course, information overload. So we are bombarded with information, and it's getting a lot worse now that AI is here and people keep generating stuff. It's overwhelming, so we get inputs from all over the place on social media. There's too much noise. We have too many sources that we get information from. At work, it's the same story. You have different teams, different departments, different ongoing projects, and all of them communicate in all sorts of ways. And yeah, you have Teams, you have mails, you have SharePoints, you have documents, you have memos, you have Slack channels and whatnot. It's complicated, and yeah, it's not like I'm going to give a magic solution to that, but at least some ideas about ways to avoid or limit the impact of those issues. Another one is cognitive load. So everything that we are busy with, all the roles that we play, all the tasks that we have, the projects or responsibilities, etc., etc. And the combination of all of those is at times at least overwhelming. And so without a system to organize yourself, it's hard to stay on top of everything, to focus on the right things, and basically not to get overwhelmed. Linked to that is the idea of mental contexts. So whenever I switch from my day job to my side projects, I basically switch from one mental context to another. When I work on one project, I have a set of ideas in mind. If I switch to a different one, I have a different mental context to build. There are two challenges basically. So the first one is, how do you construct those mental contexts? So is it all in your brain, or do you have a place where you can organize the information and just find things back from one day to the next or from 1 week to the next? That's one. And the other one is, whenever you switch from one to another, there is an effort to make. So you have to basically forget about or put aside everything that you have in mind right now about what you're busy with, and you have to switch to a different context, something else. And so if you switch from project A to project B, then the content, the context, the problems, the issues, the people involved, the statuses and things like that, the priorities, they are all different. Sometimes you do have a bit of overlap between tasks and projects, but most of the time context switching is really costly because it means basically finding things back and putting those back into your memory so that you can get back to work with the right information at hand. And again, yeah, it's a big challenge and something that makes tons of people lose tons of time. And another problem that I want to mention is knowledge retention and retrieval. So whenever you want to retain information, you have different options. The basic one that we are taught at schools is to memorize. So we take the information and try to put it in our brains and hope that it will remain there. But our brains are not that reliable. So most of the time this fails. I mean, that's good for exams, and actually it's the only choice there. But in life, in work in general, it doesn't make much sense to try and memorize everything. So there are different approaches. And the other side of that coin is when you have retained information, whether it's in your brain or in some other way, you do have to find the information back when you need it. If it's your brain, then again, you have to hope that you will remember what you need when you need it. And if it's not in your brain, but in some external system, then you still need a way to go and find information. So you need to know where it's been stored, how it's been stored, how to look for it, where to look for it, and hope that you have cataloged it or organized it in such a way that it makes it easier to find information back. And so, yeah, these are the issues that I think are relevant for most, if not all, knowledge workers. I was thinking about adding to that list AI context management, and it's something that I will discuss at the end. But basically, AI is a tool that you have to configure. You have to provide information to AI. You cannot do it with your brain because Neuralink is not here yet, and I don't think it would be a good idea to put chips in our brains just so that AI can extract information by itself. You have to have information available to provide to AI. And whether you have it in your brain and you write it down each time when you discuss with AI, or you find some way, some system to manage the context, the information that you want to provide to AI. And yeah, I think that's a really interesting topic. But so, what are solutions or potential solutions to those issues? The first one is, of course, having some personal organization system. So knowing how you organize yourself, how you organize your work, your project, everything that you are doing, your priorities, all of that is a set of information and things and processes, systems that you put in place to avoid feeling overwhelmed, avoid losing sight of important things, etc. Regarding the information itself, so if you have one project ongoing with many different inputs, stakeholders, data, documents, and whatnot, you need information management practices to organize the information so that it's not just one folder with a big mess, but rather an organized set of information. But today, one solution that I want to mention and that we are going to focus on is knowledge management. And actually, knowledge management is something, and we will dive into this deeper, but it's basically something that I consider to be part of information management. Because information management applies to files in general, so what you organize on your disk, on SharePoint, on a team space, whatever. So just basically information and files and stuff. And knowledge management is really a subset of that. It's just focusing on ideas, knowledge, thoughts, and things like that. And so not necessarily documents, even if that can be a part of it. And of course, next to that, you have the things that support those systems that you build for yourself, whether it's knowledge management, personal organization, or information management. It does not happen automatically. I mean, AI agents might in the coming years. But at this point in time, even if we have basic automations available to us, most of the things do rely on our own habits, systems, processes, routines, basically everything that you do to try and be systematic in the way you deal with information and files and knowledge. And so these are some of the things that make sense and can help. Why? And if we think, for instance, about mental overload, well, if you just try and keep everything in your mind, then it's no wonder that you are going to feel overwhelmed, because if you just get bombarded with questions and tasks and priorities and issues and problems, then at some point your brain is going to explode. And so you need some way to externalize that, put it somewhere else than in your brain, organize it, and so that you can actually refer to it and look at it, but just from the outside, and also alleviate and reduce the burden on your mind, because instead of trying to keep it all in mind, you just put it in the system, in a system that you can rely on. And that is going to be the knowledge management system in this case. And so, yeah, what is knowledge management? And in particular, I'm going to discuss about personal knowledge management, because actually knowledge management can be applied in the context of a company, an organization, and whatnot. But you can also apply it on a personal level. Here, I'm just going to focus on that, knowing that, for instance, in my case, I mix both together. So in my personal knowledge management system, I have personal stuff, but I also have all of my side projects. Basically, I organize all of what I'm doing in there. I do have a separation because at work, I cannot use the same space for storing information. There's confidential information that cannot go outside of the premises. But in general, for most of what I do outside of my day job, it's all part of my PKM system. But what is it? So one way of looking at it and thinking about personal knowledge management is something that you use to curate information. So you find articles and books, content, ideas that you find interesting and want to explore. Then you capture those. It's not that you capture the content, but you at least capture a pointer to that information. So let's say that you read, you find my latest newsletter edition, and you think to yourself, okay, this is something that I want to read later. Not right now, I don't have time. I'm going to curate it. And so PKM can be used to curate information. So basically capture pointers to pieces of information that you want to explore and consume. Then PKM can also be used and be helpful to consume information. So if you read an article and just, again, rely on your brain, you will forget most of it. It's just the way memory works. It's the forgetting curve. And unless you do conscious efforts using methods such as spaced repetition, the information is going to be lost. And so what you need actually is to capture the relevant bits and pieces while you are consuming content. So to take an example, if I'm reading a book, I have a few here and there. There's this one that I have taken some notes about. If you look at the book itself, you can see that I don't highlight anything inside of the book. I don't take notes directly in there. To me, that's something that doesn't make much sense. Why? Because it's just an information silo. So if I add highlights and notes within that book, these are just going to remain there, and I'm not going to be able to do anything with those. And so it's not something that I do or recommend, even if I know that tons and tons of people are doing that. Rather, what I do, and it's off because I don't have battery left, but I just use my remarkable e-ink tablet, and it's just next to me whenever I'm reading a book, and I will go about and take notes while I'm doing that. And the thing is that doing that, capturing the information as I'm consuming it, is part of what I consider to be knowledge management. So the consumption and capture go together. But capturing the information on its own doesn't matter or is not useful. I mean, it needs to enter into one system where you can centralize all of that. So it can be things that you are learning from books, things that you are discovering through articles and newsletters, courses in class or not, whatever. But those are basically inputs that you care about and want to keep. And it's not that you are capturing that just for the sake of capturing. I will come back to that. It's that you need to capture it in order to do something with it. And that's actually the crux of knowledge management. It's that it's something that helps going from information to wisdom. And wisdom, what it is, it's knowledge that you put to good use, so that you act upon things or you leverage things that you know. And one good way to do that is not to memorize information, but rather to have a system, a place where you can put the information in and find it back when you need. Sorry. And so it goes further. Once you have captured information, you can distill it, you can organize it, connect the ideas together, develop those ideas, etc. But I wrote down few here because that seems complicated. It's not the mental model that I think is useful or relevant to understand what knowledge management is. So rather, we are going to take a look at this note. And for me, one thing to think about when you want to understand what PKM is, it's something that will empower you as an individual. It's a system that is not in your brain. It's outside of it. It's ideally digital, and it's one place in which you are going to store and organize knowledge. It's one place where you are going to put the information you care about, that you need, that you can leverage, that is useful, that is inspiring. Whatever it is, it can be for fun as well. It doesn't matter. But it's just one place, and I really insist on the fact that it should be one place where you can put the information, and you can just let it go. Your mind doesn't need to remember any of it, or almost none of it. And that's why I mentioned that it's a system that is going to help you intentionally forget. Because whenever I put information inside of my knowledge base inside of my PKM system, and this is it. Actually, it's part of it. Whenever I write something in there, I know it's there, and so I don't need to keep it in my mind. If I just want to find back what I want or what I should be doing today, then I go to the notes that I have for today, and in there I can find all of the things that I've planned for myself for this day or this week or whatever it is. And so the idea is to create a reliable single source of truth. It's just one place where you are going to go whenever you want to save or retrieve knowledge, ideas, brain dumps, journals, whatever that is, book notes, etc. And so imagine a funnel that goes from everything that you find interesting or valuable or useful or that you need to remember, and all of those come into a single thing, which is your knowledge management system. One more aspect to it is that it's a way to create a space where you can think deeply. So whenever I need to think about a project or review my priorities, organize my work, just create something, I just go in here. That's my space to think. And I would take, for instance, this little space there and take some notes. And I can write down anything I want. It will stay there. It will never be lost unless I delete it. And I can use that to think. And that's the most basic way. But actually, you can go much further, and you can connect tons of pieces of information together thanks to that. And so here, for instance, from my daily note, you can see that I have connected different ideas. And these are all of the things that I'm busy with, that basically I have in my mind in some way. But instead of having to memorize all of it, it's just there in the system. And because I have those links between different things, different ideas, projects, and tasks, I can just use the system to go back to those and think about those. And so, for instance, if I want to write a new article, I'm not going to just go from a blank slate. No, I'm always going to start from somewhere. In this case, I have this dashboard with many ideas about things that I want to write about. And yeah, I'm not even trying to remember about all of the ideas that I've had about things to write. Yeah, I want to write about Zettelkasten misconceptions. I have a few references, and etc. etc. There are 1,000 cards in there. It's not the kind of scope or level of information that I would want to even try to remember. Doesn't make sense. But inside of the PKM system, it does make sense. It's easy. It's a tool that is made for that. All right. I think I'm getting somewhere. I hope that this clarifies or at least clearly explains what it is. I know that so far it's abstract because first, before trying to even start building such a system for yourself, a knowledge management system for yourself, you have to understand what it's about. What's the point of having one? And that's what I'm focusing on. Then we can discuss about how to create one and what it is in practice. I mean, what it is made of. Because here you are seeing this presentation inside of my knowledge management system, or at least inside one part of my knowledge management system. So as I said, another aspect to it is the ability to connect ideas, concepts, insights, inspiration, tasks, whatever. All of the things that you would keep in mind otherwise can be dumped and stored and organized inside of that system. And yeah, it goes further. And to me, it does accelerate learning because whenever I discover something new, it enters the system, and then I can connect the dots, connect the ideas to the ones that I have already, or translate to the ones that I know about already. Yeah, and the other aspect to it is, so first you centralize knowledge, which you can then leverage and use. And that's where I consider that it turns into wisdom, because once you have accumulated knowledge and you do something with it, then it's not just knowledge, it's wisdom, because you are elevating the way you act and use the knowledge that you have at your disposal. And of course, yeah, it can also be used, as I said, for different purposes, not only for creativity, but also for productivity, just for fun. And one last aspect that I won't mention, because it's quite recent, but I do think that it matters a lot and it makes a lot of sense, is that you can leverage a knowledge management system to better use AI, basically. And I will come back to this a bit later. So why do you need a knowledge management system? That's also something interesting to discuss. The thing is that, as I said, you always start from somewhere when you have such a system. Why? Because if you have taken, for instance, notes about a previous project and the challenges that you faced and the lessons that you've learned, then you can come back to those. And when you start a new project, you can think to yourself, okay, last time I did this and that mistake, and now I want to avoid it. So, for instance, I organized a few of those Noe community events so far, and I made some mistakes before. So, for instance, I didn't check that my camera was working, that the sound was okay. And so now I have this checklist inside of my system to remind me about all of those small details that I have to think about before starting a new event. And it's just documentation, and it might sound stupid, but it's a documented process. I know whenever I do this again, just create a new event, I know what I have to do before it, just before it, after it, etc. And it's just a process that I've documented. And I would say it's a good practice to have that for anything that you do. But having my knowledge management system, there's no question about where that is going to be stored. It would be a different discussion if I was working with a team. I'm just on my own. That's why I focus on the personal aspect. But this is something that you can translate to teamwork. There are plugins, for instance, for this application. This is Obsidian. There are plugins that you can use to collaborate with others. You can use tools such as Notion, for instance, that you can use with multiple persons. Rather, it's not so much about the tool, I would say, but rather it's about the idea of building a knowledge base that you can leverage. And it goes further than the knowledge base. That's the one thing that I want to insist upon before we dive into, I would say, the more practical aspects of knowledge management, is that you have to make the distinction between personal knowledge management as a practice, something that you do, and a personal knowledge management system, something that you use. Because those two are different. These are complementary, but they are not the same thing. And so when you integrate knowledge management in your life, you can assemble a knowledge management system for yourself using different tools. There are different bits and pieces that you can use to basically cover all of those things that I have mentioned quickly before. And so it's not that having a personal knowledge management means choosing one tool in which you are going to do everything. It can work to some extent, but you will face cases and things that make it impossible in practice. In my case, and I will come back to this, my knowledge management system is composed of different tools that I'm using together, connecting together, even using completely separately, but they are part of the overall system. To give you an example, when I'm on the go, if I listen to a podcast and find something interesting, then I would use an app that is called Voice Notes on my phone to record my voice and capture the ideas that I found interesting. Then, because that application has been connected to my knowledge management app, my tool for thoughts, coming back to this in a second, because I have connected those together, whenever I take voice notes, those are transcribed for me and they are sent inside of my single source of truth. And so it's another angle to having a knowledge management system, is that you are going to combine different things together towards a certain purpose. And the purpose is to have this central knowledge base that you can leverage. And so one important point about having a knowledge management system is that you will, because there's no alternative to that, I would say you will have different information silos. And that would be the case if you did not have knowledge management system either. But I mentioned the book notes that I take on this device. These are stored on it, then uploaded to the cloud, whatever of Remarkable. But what I do is consider this storage, this device, and the data that it holds, so all of my book notes, as something transient. It's an information silo. And while it's part of my overall knowledge management system, so it's the place that I use to capture book notes, these do not stay there. That place is not important. What is important in my system is what I'm showing you here. It's my tool for thought, in which I have the knowledge base. So whenever I capture something there, or using a piece of paper, a post-it, or whatever it is, or voice notes, those are all transient places to store information. What I want and what I need for the system to make sense is that those silos just remain temporary. The information that is captured inside of those different places does not stay there. It's just temporary. It has to move and transition slowly, step by step, to my knowledge management system, to my knowledge base. Sorry. And so if we look at this part, I think that I have a visualization that might be a bit more interesting or intuitive. Just need to find the right one back, because this is not the one. Just give me a sec. Yeah, it's part of the elements, but it's not the one that I'm after. With ID capture system, that's the one I want to show. So yeah, I have this small, simple visualization that I want to cover here. This is all part of my knowledge management course, but I think it makes sense. So when I take book notes, I consider, even if it's the digital device, I consider those notes to be analog, the same as what I would do with paper notes. So they start there. I capture information there. I also capture information in my web browser, using different apps, different tools, different systems on my mobile phone. Sometimes I send mails to myself. But basically, the thing is that I explore information, I curate things that I find interesting. At some point, I consume them. So I watch a YouTube video, I listen to a podcast, I read an article, a book, or whatever. I capture information in some form, whether it's analog or digital, doesn't matter. But as I said, all of those inputs are just transient. What matters is that those all move to what I call the single source of truth. And that's basically the heart of the knowledge management system. It's the one place in which you store and organize and connect the ideas and things. And that's what you are going to leverage, because you are going to accumulate the valuable information inside that place. And it's that place that you are going to use to find information back, to leverage the lessons of the past, let's say. Yeah, that's where it starts. So this is one way to think about the funnel of information. And it helps thinking about it this way, because if you don't have a system, then what you probably do is you just consume things randomly. So you get an email for a newsletter that you subscribe to, you find it interesting, you have a few minutes, you start reading it, or you don't have time, but it took your attention away from what you were doing, and so you end up in this stage directly. But if you don't have this system, then this does not happen. You never capture, you never enrich a single source of truth with the information, and so you don't have leverage. All you have is information that you have consumed and put in your brain, and so you are going to retain maybe a bit of it, and you will lose and forget most of it. What changes with a knowledge management system is that you do this capture phase and you put the information in a place that you can leverage. So that's one way to look at it. Now, I want to focus on the idea of the system. So I mentioned there is the practice. So thinking about the way and the way you consume, the way you select information, the way you capture information that makes sense, that is valuable, the way you organize, etc. That's the practice. But next to that, there is also the system. And so what is the system? So let's dive a bit deeper and try to understand what it means, what it looks like. Well, this is my way of thinking about a personal knowledge management system. As I said, it's not just one tool, it's a combination of tools that you are going to use to achieve one goal. And that goal is to create a knowledge base, a knowledge graph in which you are going to have valuable information that you can leverage. So what is a knowledge graph? A knowledge graph is basically the different pieces that you have captured over time inside of your knowledge base and that you are connecting to each other. So let's imagine that this block here is something that you have written about your most important project right now. It might be a personal project, a work project, it doesn't matter. So this is that. It's an explanation of that project, the goals, the priorities, things like that. And then you are going to connect that piece of information with another, which could be, for instance, the list of stakeholders for that project. And so now you have two pieces of information that are connected to each other. This might seem abstract, but I'm going to be making it a lot more concrete. So I have my knowledge management for beginners course, and basically this material that I'm covering is coming from there. And so, yeah, this is the landing page. I'm going to take the course plan rather. It's going to be more interesting. And you can see that this is basically one of those pieces in my own knowledge graph. So again, this is Obsidian. That's what I'm using. But you can, yeah, basically construct the same in many different apps. So let's suppose that this piece is actually this. That's the thing to understand, is that in this knowledge base, I'm storing pieces of information that I can leverage. And if I use the local graph again, just to have a visualization, you can see that this piece of information points to many other pieces of information. So this is the graph part that is mentioned there. And what matters with what I'm saying is not so much the thing that you can see here. I mean, it's just a visualization. It's not very useful. And actually, when you just look at it more globally, so this is the graph view for my entire knowledge base at this point, it's useless. I mean, I'm not going to do anything useful with this. It doesn't load anymore. It's too slow now. I have too much stuff. But if we zoom in, you can see that there is in there information about tons of things. And so what I mean to say is that the visualization itself doesn't matter. It's not that. That's not relevant. It's just a gimmick. It's nice to see. It's fun, but that's it. It's not useful. This other one is more useful. I have to wait because I think I have killed my Obsidian. This one is more interesting because that one is local to this piece of information. But even then, I don't use it that often. What is much more interesting is the underlying, what's underlying beneath the surface, because I have connected this piece of information with that one, and with that one, and with that one. And so I'm creating the data structure, I'm creating the graph of information. So this information is related to that information, and that information in turn is related to that information. Oh, and that is the daily note, and that's something that happened in 2024. And so this is what I was busy with at the time, and I took some notes. And so at the same time I was working on a project, I was also thinking about this quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson. And who's that? That's someone. And it doesn't matter too much. I mean, I found that inspiring. And so in my case here, what I've captured is just a few ideas that I think are valuable in this world. But it's really, really personal. So it's coming back to the idea of personal knowledge management. That's valuable for myself. It's valuable for me, for my goals, for my projects, for my thinking, whatever it is, but it's just for me. That's the thing. And so coming back to this visualization about the system itself, this tool, and everything basically that I'm showing you right now, except for my remarkable and stuff that's outside of it. But here inside of Obsidian, what you see is basically the content of my tool for thought. Obsidian is my tool for thought. It's basically just a note-taking application. As you can see, I can just type things in here and organize the ideas and make bullet points. And then I can create links to other pieces of information in the system. That's a tool for thought. It's a tool that you can use for thinking and for organizing information. It's more than just a note-taking app because it has certain features that you would not find in Visual Studio Code, for instance. This notion of links do exist, but the notion of graph that I mentioned does not exist. The notion of properties such as what you can see here and tags and things, this exists in different applications, but not in all. But if you want an application that you want to use for knowledge management, you need a tool such as this one. It's not mandatory, but it's going to add a lot more value to the way you organize information and use it and leverage it. So you have this knowledge graph that you enrich as you take notes, as you create journal entries and create links between ideas. You have this notion of backlinks. It's basically when this piece of information points to that one, then if you look at that one, you can see that another piece of information points to it. And so you have this bi-directional relationship between the data, the information in your knowledge base. And so, yeah, basically the tool for thought is where you are going to centralize, create your single source of truth. And so coming back to this idea of an information or knowledge funnel, basically all of the sources, whether it's this, whether it's my phone, whether it's paper, whether it's notes I've taken on the web, stuff from my email, whatever, at the end of the day, everything that matters ends up in this place. But as I said, I do use different tools that compose this. And now going beyond what I was explaining here about the system itself, the system is not only the tools that you are using, it's also the activities. For instance, I do journaling. So I take a note each day, each week, each month, in which I store information about my life, about my project, about my success, my failures, whatnot. This is an activity. I do periodic reviews. So each week I look back at what happened and think about what went well, what didn't, why, what should I do next week, what should I do next year, next quarter, whatever. I can prioritize my work. Those are all activities that are part of the system because they are like the cogwheels of the system, basically. And these activities either leverage or feed the system and the knowledge base. On the other hand, you also have a set of workflows and systems and habits. So the way in which you are capturing information, the way in which you are ingesting, so adding information to the system. This visualization is also a piece of information that is part of this knowledge graph that I'm mentioning. And maintaining it is part of it. And it's not that I'm working just to maintain the stuff. It's valuable for me to do it because it has a purpose. In my case, having this representation of a PKM system helps me explain it because that's what I want to do. It's one of my goals. I want more people to understand what knowledge management is about and why it's useful. And so you have all of those things that you are going to do to make the system manageable and maintainable over time. Because just like anything, if you create a garden, if you want it to look good and not be full of weeds and look ugly, then you have to take some time and make some efforts to maintain it. And so you need a set of workflows and systems to do that. Next to that, for the system to be usable at scale, so once you get past 100 or so or 1,000 or so nodes, pieces of information in the system, in the knowledge graph, then you do need to integrate some techniques and conventions and structures. And I think that with AI, this part actually shrinks. It's going over time to become less relevant to do all this. But right now, even if AI is much more powerful than before, I still do think that having techniques and conventions and structures matter. It's not something that I can cover today. We can do this in a next session. But it's important to consider that for the system to work at scale, I mean, not just toy use, but actual professional use, let's say, you need a way to organize information. So just to zoom in a bit about that aspect of things, my system here does have a clear structure in place. So you can see that I have a clean naming for different parts. The information is organized. You don't need to have something that complicated. It's just my choice. It's part of the way I work. I've been using this for a while. But for instance, the notes that I take about books, they end up in this place. And if we take a look at any of those, for instance, the note I took about the book I mentioned earlier, I have some metadata about it. I have the link to the person's page, so the author, who he is, what he works on, so personal choices. But what I mean is I have a certain place to store those. I have certain conventions that I use to recognize that this specific piece of information is our book notes. So in this case, a summary. These are the topics that it discusses. So these are the tags that I'm using to find this piece of information back. And the same thing goes for different things. So the quotes, the maps of content, those are basically lists of content that I have about certain topics. And the goal here is not to cover the structure that I use and why it's that way, why it's valuable, or to explain how to do the same. Or the concepts. I mean, this is one knowledge management concept. I cannot discuss that today. We have to keep that for next time. But it is important to understand that beyond just having this place where you can dump information, you cannot just dump it without thinking about how to organize it correctly. Because if you do, it will work fine. And actually, it's something that I do recommend when you get started. When you start, what matters is writing. It's not fiddling with the system and configuring and creating structures and whatnot. It's just using it. But once you get past a certain point, there is a need to organize the information at least a bit, just for yourself. AI might find its way, and over time, it will surely get even better. But for instance, here, if I want to find notes that I have about, book notes that I have about knowledge management, I can do this. Just have to type it correctly, and you can see that I quickly found back this note that I have about this book, and I actually do have notes coming from different books about this, and that helps me. That the structure and the conventions, they do help me to use the system, so to find things back when I need those. Anyways, that was a long digression. Sorry. I want to come back to the visualization there for a minute because I'm not done with that one. Yeah, it's here. Come back to it. So you have these techniques, conventions, structures, and whatnot, and I have documented many of those, and I will leave the links inside of the event notes. You will have access to all of those. Next to that, you have different systems that interact with your knowledge management system. So once you have this in place, or at least this part where you can start centralizing information, then you are going to feed information into it through different means. And your learning system, whether it's something that you have documented clearly or not, is something that's going to feed into your tool for thought. And actually, you can add a few more blocks there to mention your productivity system that's going to leverage that, your personal organization system, whatnot. I mean, basically, what the idea that I want to convey is that once you start integrating knowledge management as a practice in your life, then, in my opinion, it's not, there's this conception that if you are using a tool for thought, such as Obsidian, you are doing PKM. To some extent, yes, you are integrating the basics, let's say, of the practices, of the practice. But if you don't think of the whole as a system, then you are just fiddling with it. I mean, the most important thing to me with knowledge management and the practice is first to understand that you need a system for it to make sense, to be usable. And the second is you need to integrate that practice in everything that you do. Because these are two pitfalls that I see with many people, is that they just focus on this idea that they want to find the perfect or the ideal or the best note-taking application. They want to take notes. That's fine. I mean, that's a good starting point. You need to want to write or at least record your voice or whatever. But if you just focus on that idea, you will limit the discussion to the choice between RAM notes or Logseek or Obsidian or Tana or whatever capacities, etc. There are hundreds and hundreds of note-taking applications. But that's besides the point. It's completely missing the important thing. The important thing is integrating the practice in your life. Because if you are just building a knowledge base that you are putting information in, but never actually using because it's just on the side and you think about it from time to time and you say to yourself, okay, I'm trying this new note-taking app. It's cool. I can create links, stuff, blah, blah, blah. But when you work, it's not even in your mind, then it's basically useless. I mean, if you want to have such a system to alleviate the problems and the pain points that I mentioned in the beginning, what you need is to leverage that system, because it's not going to help you if you do nothing with it. It's fine if you just want to play and take some notes and just use it for fun. But if you want that system to fix or at least reduce the impact of the problems that you face as a knowledge worker, you need to integrate the practice in whatever you do, everything that you do. In my case, of course, I'm a coach for this and I care a lot about the topic. I do use this system every day. Whenever I'm getting to work, I take a look at my plan. I take a look at my list of tasks for the week. I just review what I've planned for the month. I take a look at my weekly notes. I don't know which week it is anymore because of vacation, but whatever. I know what I have planned, what I have achieved, what I've done, what I want to write about, etc. It may seem daunting, but it's basically my home, my place for thinking. And so if there's one thing that I want to leave you with through this workshop, it's that knowledge management is not only about a tool for thought and note-taking. It's about the practice. It's about having a system that you can trust, that you can rely on, and that you do leverage on a daily basis. Because otherwise, it's just something that you do for fun, and it's not going to change much in your life. In my case, it does change a lot because I'm using it for many things. I'm using it to manage my projects, and actually I have started working on a new dashboard for my project. Not done yet, but it's going to be quite helpful. And so I have one note for each of my projects. They each have a certain status. They are going to be associated with goals, with different tasks. They will end up being related to the things that I have planned for the week. It's related to the plans that I have for the year. So I know that this year, if I want this year to be successful, then first thing first, I have to keep my business alive. That's a good first step. But I also want and have as priority to grow this community that I'm building. And all of the pieces are connected to each other. And I'm relying on this whole all of the time. It's not only that I want to build a knowledge base for the fun or to have a nice looking graph that I can share on social media. I don't care about that. I do care about having something that I can rely on to find information. If I want to find some piece about writing And about productivity, I can go here, and in a second, I will find what I need. I mean, yeah, that's using the perfect example here, doesn't matter, but it's accessible, it's organized, it's maintainable. I do have the techniques and the structures in place so that I can find what I want back in a minute. If I want to find what I did last year, I can go back to this node, and I know that I asked my girlfriend. I proposed to her. She said yes, and that's personal, but doesn't matter. I mean, everything that I did for my projects, I know it's in there. Every priority, every task, every idea that I've had. So going back to that one again, I can look below and I can see that at that point in time, I had that many followers on social media. Not that I care that much, but something that I'm tracking. Um, and it's just my personal system, my stuff, the stuff I care about. And I've killed Obsidian again, so I'm going to have to relaunch it. Sorry about that. Yeah, there's too much in that note, I guess. But yeah, the point is, and while I'm restarting it, the point is really that it's not just something that's on the side that I look at from time to time. It's really something that's very, very central to everything that I do. Of course, because I'm coaching and I'm training and I'm writing and focusing on this, but uh, if I was a software, yeah, going back to my career as a software engineer and knowing what I know about knowledge management, I would do basically almost the same. I would write less about PKM and more about software development, but I would still use the system in the same way. I would leverage it to organize my work, organize my thinking, capture my ideas. I wrote a letter for my kids the other day that I want them to read when they are 18, sorry. I wrote a letter to my mom, and I kept those there. I wrote letters to my wife, or soon to be wife, sorry, my bride. Um, yeah, and it's all part of that. It's a sort of legacy. That's another way of thinking about knowledge management. Is that if you have ideas and you think that those are relevant, or you want to leave something behind for others to see, for others to enjoy, or discover, or whatever it is, it's also one good way to do it. You can write letters on paper, but maybe those will get lost. Maybe your knowledge management system will get lost too, but that's another discussion. But yeah, the point is that it's one way to organize information. Anyway, just a digression. So yeah, the visualization we've discussed, I think, enough. Just two words of warning. First, it's not magical. I mean, if you look at my system, I've been using it for multiple years. I think I have something like 10K nodes now. Let's take a look at the stats. Hope that I'm not going to break it again, but we are 8,900 nodes in there. Yeah, there's a lot of information in my system just because I'm using it every day and I keep adding to it. Just yesterday, I took some notes. Yeah, here. No, yeah, I took some notes about the Leitner system, about the guy that was behind that systems. I was preparing this talk, so I updated some notes about knowledge management and the problems, things like that. Those will remain, and so I just keep adding to the knowledge base. But the point I want to make now is that it's not magical. It's not something that that's going to come for free. It's something that you are going to invest. You are going to need to invest time and effort to build the system for yourself, to maintain it. You are going to have to change the way that you work. As I said, you have to integrate the practice in everything that you do. Otherwise, it's not going to be useful or helpful or valuable. Another point is that it's easy to waste time with knowledge management. I wrote an article about this recently, but basically there are tons of people who focus so much on the tool for thought and note-taking aspect that they actually just care about having the perfect app, having the perfect looks, having the perfect whatever, and they spend a crazy amount of time setting things up. And so they go here, and so they look at the appearance, and oh yeah, I could change this. I need a new theme. Oh, and this theme is nice, but it's missing this and that. So I could customize the icon. I could customize the CSS to have a better look, so and whatnot. What I mean is that they spend time fiddling with the system and they are not leveraging it. So the balance, you need a balance. It makes sense to customize some things because it's more convenient, because it's better for eyesight or not to tire your eyes, avoid eye strain, sorry. Because you need certain features, and that I can understand and relate to. But it's important to keep in mind that it's not the goal to fiddle with the system. It's the goal to leverage the system. And so that's one pitfall that I keep seeing people fall into. And that's why I actually turned my own system into the Obsidian starter kit. So sharing my way of doing things. Not that it's better than anything else, but just that I've built it. I see that it works. I see that it scales. It's maintainable. It's well organized. I mean, I did spend the time to achieve that and get to that point. And so it can help others. But I think that most people that spend too much time fiddling with the system, they are missing the point. They are just playing, basically. And as I said, there's no free meal. It's the same point here. But also, it's not a silver bullet. It's not because you are going to organize all of the information that you come across and find interesting or required or valuable, that it's going to change anything. I mean, you could be wrong about the stuff that you capture. You might be capturing the wrong things at the right time. You might not leverage the information when you should be. It's not just because you store information in one place that magically it's going to change everything for you. But yeah, I do see the benefits myself. I do see the impact, using it well, having a solid system in place. But yeah, consider that there are gradual returns for the practice. So when you start, you will have few nodes, very little information. You will not have documented processes in the system. It's going to be messy. You're going to create really long nodes maybe, or fall into some pitfalls. And so it's going to take time before the practice gives you benefits. What I would say to get started is that you should first clarify your goals. If your goal is to have fun, or maybe try to dab a bit into it and take some notes and see how to use those tools. So just using it for fun, not an issue, but you have to be conscious about that. If your goal is to fix some of the problems that we have discussed in the beginning, then you need to go further. You need to approach this a bit more seriously, I would say. Not that it's rocket science or anything, but there are things to take care about, to pay attention to. So the very first step, once you know what your goals are, I would say, is to choose a tool for thought. So as I said, the tool for thought is just, I wrote it like this. It's a note-taking app on steroids. So it's basically a note-taking app because that's the core of it. These files are all text files in my file system. And so I can open any of those in my system editor. So I can come here, show in System Explorer, open the file, and it's just a text file on my machine. It's not the case with all tools for thought, but at the core, there are note-taking apps. What's different between sorry, my brain can only do one thing at a time. What's different between classic note-taking apps and what the category, let's say, called tools for thought, is that they integrate additional features. So yes, you can create notes. You can do it with a text editor, any text editor, with your file system and whatnot. This is not the case with most note-taking apps. You need something that is able to create links, so a wiki-like system. So when you go on Wikipedia, you have those links between different pages. A tool for thought must include at least the ability to create links between nodes. Otherwise, this local graph that I discussed and the knowledge graph that's underlying is never going to exist. That's one. Sorry, additionally, sorry, you also have, I think it's necessary to have the capability of discovering the backlinks. So when you are on a specific node, you should be able to see which other nodes are pointing to this one. So here I have the backlinks from other nodes to this node that I'm on right now. So let's forget that one. Let's just focus on this. So I'm on this must-have features for tools for thought. And this node is linked to by all of those. So indeed, when I go to tools for thought, I've just added this link to this node. And even though this specific node does not point back to the other, I do see here that the other one is pointing to this one. And I think that this is an important feature because it can help discover basically the opportunities to link forward. So in this case, all tools for thought should have the ability to, and then I can add this. And now that I've done this, if I go back to this other one, in its backlinks, I'm going to find the one that I've just created a link from. So forward links and backlinks, I think those are valuable and necessary. Another feature that is a must for me for a tool for thought is the ability to tag nodes. So here I have my tags. I like using the source view. It's specific to Obsidian. You have different ways of looking at your nodes. There is another type of view, which is here. You can see this more visually. Yeah, it bugs, I think, because I have zoomed in. Doesn't matter too much, but these tags I can add. And Obsidian knows that I have used all of those tags previously and many other ones. So if it was about personal organization, I could just add it and I would be able to find this node back thanks to the tags. So the tags are, in my opinion, really important for being able to find things efficiently. I'm using that all the time. Beyond just tags, being able to add metadata. So tags are part of the metadata, but you can see that I have other properties. So I know when this was created and last updated. I know that it's a public node, so I've published it on my website, and I could add more properties if I wanted to. And those properties have a specific type. So I could do level or whatever, and I could change here the type of the property, and I could say it's a list, and it's slow, then medium. Yeah, whatever. That's not a goal to demonstrate this, but what I mean is that you should have the ability to define properties, metadata on your nodes. Why? Because it adds a level of meta information, so information about the information. And why is that useful? Because thanks to that kind of thing, you can create, for instance, something like this or something like this rather. Let's take this one. So I have this database for my books, so the books that I'm reading. This list basically is based on the fact that my notes, so for instance, this note about AI engineering, the book summary, includes metadata properties. And so I can, in Obsidian, thanks to the fact that I have metadata, create tables such as this one that include the metadata that is available on those nodes. So if I take this one, for instance, how we learn, you can see that it has all of those properties with additional information. So the number of pages of that book, the ISBN number, the address of the cover image for the book. And this enables creating this view and also enables creating this other view with the content. Yeah, by the way, that's an upcoming feature of Obsidian. It's soon to be available, I think, to everyone. For now, it's in beta, and I think it's great. Yeah, it's really powerful. Anyways, coming back to the must-have for tools for thought. So tags, metadata. I think that now in 2025, AI support is a must, whether it's first party or third party. In the case of Obsidian, there's no built-in AI support, but there are many plugins that you can use to add basically AI features into the tool. So see here, for instance, I have these AI providers that I can use to define the providers that I want to use for AI, and I have other ones that I can use. I've actually also built plugins myself for Obsidian. Yeah, anyway, so must have also mobile support. I think that's a must. Not that I create or use my system. I don't add to my system a lot on mobile. That's really personal. But I do consult the information on mobile. So if I'm on my phone, I don't like taking notes on the phone. It's not very practical. But I leverage the notes that I have in the system to find information that I need. So if I want to recommend a book and I forgot the name because, yeah, just dumped it inside of my system, I can open it on my Android phone and find the information back. All right. And so these, I think, are the most important features of that kind of tool. As I mentioned, graph visualizations are, yeah, nice, but it's gimmick. It's something that is not very useful in practice. Having the ability to manage your tasks is also useful. It's not a must. In my case, it is, but for most people, I would say it's not mandatory. Many people prefer to use different tools for different purposes. Personally, I prefer to use as few applications as I can. And since I can manage my tasks right within Obsidian, that's what I'm doing. And yeah, last but not least, an extension system. I think it's highly relevant for having the possibility at least to integrate additional features. So if you use something like Tana, so Tana is an application that a platform that I like a lot. It's really powerful, it's beautiful, it's whatever you want, it's great. But at this point in time, at least, there are different issues with it that makes me not want to actually use it, even though it's really nice. But one thing is that they don't have support for extensions. What that means is that you are fully dependent on the company, the people behind, the developers of the platform or tool, to provide you with new features. It's not the case with Obsidian. In the case of Obsidian, they have a built-in extension system, and so I can go and I can find things to do different things. I mean, add features to the base feature set of the app. And that's great because, for instance, I created this plugin for myself. I created another one to update time on my notes. These are not things that I would have been able to do with a platform that does not support extensions. So again, in my case, it's a must. I'm a developer, so I like having the ability to add stuff. I think it's interesting to have for many people because then you are not limited to the provider's capability or willingness to provide features, but you can count on the community. But it's not a must. That's again personal. All right. Few more things to mention about the choice of the tools for thought. What I would say is that you should pay attention to how your data is going to be handled. As you saw when I opened my Node 2024, there's personal information in there. There can be very sensitive information from different dimensions, whether it's pure security, confidentiality, the risks for yourself or your company if that information was to be made public or stolen or whatever, or just lost, so just for yourself. So data security is really important, especially for personal knowledge management. So many people like using SaaS platforms. Personally, I do consider that knowledge management is not something that is great to be done in a SaaS platform, unless that platform itself is open source, I mean. Because I mentioned Tana, and honestly, I have nothing against Tana. I really think it's a nice platform. It's really powerful and whatever you want, but there are reasons for which I will not be using that. And for me, is that, as I said here, even if I'm not the most privacy sensitive person in the world, I care enough and I consider the information that I have there that important that I cannot consider delegating it or trusting someone else or some company with it. That's why I'm using Obsidian today. That's why I stopped at some point a few years back using Evernote. This was nice for a while, but at some point I realized that, hey, now they've sold the company to another, they've been acquired, and now they are changing their policies and the product is changing a lot. And what's going to happen with my data? Am I going to lose it? Will I be able to use it elsewhere? So there are many questions that lie under the surface when making the choice for an app. And why am I mentioning this? Because if you are just playing, then you can pick any app and that's going to be fine. I'm mentioning this because to me, my knowledge management system, and not necessarily the specific tools, but the system as a whole, is going to be an important part of my life. I want to be using it for 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years, not just for a few months, not just for one project. And if you think, if you start from the same point of view, then the choice that you make is going to be really important. I mean, you don't want to have, I wouldn't want to have to migrate all of my data, all of my nodes from what I have now in Obsidian to something else. First, maybe that would not work. Second, that would probably take a ton of time. Third, you might lose some data along the way, some features, or if you are using specific features of the platform. So I mentioned this new dashboard that I'm building now. It's not something that I'm super fan of. I mean, it's nice while I'm using Obsidian, it's cool, but actually I can create an example to show you the issue there. It's that here, if I integrate this knowledge base, so my books, for instance, here I can see it, that's nice. But what you don't see here is that if I open this file with another text editor, this is all I'm going to see. This will not be there. It's broken when I'm not inside of Obsidian. And to me, that's actually an issue. It's nice to have this capability within the tool, but if I were to switch tomorrow from Obsidian now to something else, I would have an issue now because this feature, this specific feature, it works with Obsidian and that's it. And it's not part of my data. It's broken in that sense. It's not portable. And it's especially true when you are using SaaS platforms because they will enable you to export your data, or at least the serious ones will, because they are forced by law. So for instance, through the GDPR in Europe, they have to give you a way to export your data in an open format, something that you can use elsewhere. But the format, beyond the file format that they are going to use, so either JSON or Markdown or XML or whatnot, it doesn't mean that your data is going to be in a usable format. Who tells you that the exports of Tana today and the exports of Tana in a year will be possible to be imported in Obsidian or in another tool? There's no certainty about that. And as I mentioned with this example, might be that, this is going to be broken if you switch to something else. And so to me, it's one of the reasons why I want to emphasize the idea that beyond data handling, data security, you have to consider vendor locking. Always, and I'm always saying this, going from the start point that I want to be using this for many years to come. Today, if Obsidian was to disappear, what I showed you with the project board here would be basically almost the only thing that I would actually lose. I have this other example. So you saw this board. This comes from an extension that I have installed in Obsidian. But why have I chosen to use this particular extension and not another one? First, because it's the most popular one, but also because if I look at what's underneath the cover, it's actually just a markdown file with headings and tasks. That's going to keep working if I switch to a different tool. That's nice. That's portable. It's not going to be lost if I switch. But while I'm using Obsidian, I get the benefit of having this visual aspect to it. To take another example, I have this just one map of content. So my maps of content, no, that's not the one, sorry. This is just a note that I use as a map to pieces of content about a specific topic. And I have many such maps. You can, yeah, it's just one of the knowledge management concepts that we are not going to dive into in detail today. But here I have basically a list of all of the pieces of information in my knowledge graph that have something to do with writing. So here I have a simple quote from Nicholas Cole from this book, and it says that being a writer is not a destination, it's a journey. Found it interesting. It's about writing, and because there is this tag on this note, so it states that it's about writing, then it appears here in this list. But this list, again, I've chosen to use this approach. Let's not get technical, but basically it's an extension that I've created instead of a different way. Why? Because this is actually part of the text file. So if I stop using Obsidian, this content will still be there, meaning that I will not have lost anything by switching. Of course, it will be broken because since I do not have that feature anymore, if I'm not using Obsidian, the list will not get updated anymore. In this case, it's automatically updated. So let's suppose I delete 2 links there and I wait. It's just back because there is this plugin that I have in Obsidian that takes care of updating the content automatically. And that's nice. But I did it in such a way that the content is part of the note. And that I like because it means that if I stop using this app, it will still be there. But if I had done it this way, yeah, I'm just not going to, yeah, let's try it correctly. See, I can get the same result. So I have this list. But if I look at the text file, what I will see is this and not the actual links like I have in this other case. And so that's why I prefer that way. And it's just here an implementation detail, but I think that this applies to many features of such tools. And so that's why I mentioned that vendor lock-in is important. It's not only about the platform that you choose to use, but also about the extensions and integrations that you choose to use. Because you can shoot yourself in the foot really easily by using ways of doing things or extensions that lock you in, that block you inside of one specific tool. And it's not that you can do it, it's just that you have to be aware of the implications. And in the case of Tana, going back to it, I'm sorry for bashing them a bit, but there are enough points for me against using their platform and similar platforms that I decided to write an article because it's way too impactful. And beyond that, you can also consider the costs. So yeah, it costs that much today. It's a SaaS platform. Tomorrow they decide to double the price. Then what do? You have to pay or suffer from having to move elsewhere or losing your data, even worse. I mean, it's not an option for me. Also, the integrations, you might not have all of the integrations that you want or that you need. As I said, the system itself is composed of different tools. And if you cannot integrate those together, it's going to limit the ways in which you can leverage your system. I mentioned voice notes earlier. I have this configuration here, this extension that takes the notes that I took using my voice, using the voice notes app, and synchronizes those automatically inside of Obsidian for me. I could do it again because there is the capability of Obsidian to integrate extensions. If there wasn't, then I would be fully dependent on the provider to implement that integration for me. Anyways, just to summarize my current recommendation, and it's not just because I am using Obsidian. I think that Obsidian is actually one of the very best applications that you can use for knowledge management today. I stated multiple reasons already, directly or indirectly. I have, just find the link here. I will add it there. Benefits of Obsidian, I think. Yeah, I don't have all of the list in my mind, but it's in my system, so I can find it back easily. First, Obsidian is free, so you can use it personally or professionally. Their license allows that, which is awesome. It's extremely fast. It's one of the fastest applications that you can use. It's local, it's installed on your machine. Might not always be the case on mobile, but it's getting better. It's available on multiple platforms, so you can use it on Windows, on Linux, Mac OS. Super importantly, all of the data that you store in Obsidian is stored on your machine. You own it now and forever. These are just files on my computer, and I can back those up any way I want. I can encrypt those if I want. I can synchronize those across machines. I can open those using different tools. And so it's a very, very different situation than I would get with an online platform. I do recommend Obsidian almost only for that. I mean, that's a good enough reason for me to be using Obsidian. Another point is that you can leverage the files in your knowledge base with AI much more easily with Obsidian. You don't need Obsidian to integrate AI features to be using AI with your notes, because this is just a text file, so I can take it and drop it inside of my AI tool, and that's it, it's going to work. Or I can tell my AI tool to go and read this file on my computer, and it's going to work. And so it's an enabler. It enables many scenarios that are just not possible out of the box with other platforms. I mean, online platforms, SaaS platforms. Yeah, mentioning the features of Obsidian, you saw different visualizations that I created. You saw the graphs, and there's so much more that Obsidian can do. I mean, yeah, not here to sell it because I'm not. Yeah, I'm just an advocate, but I don't get paid by the Obsidian team to say all this. It's just what I believe. Yeah, and well, one more point I want to make is that the community behind Obsidian is huge. I mean, there are tons and tons of super friendly people, highly knowledgeable people, many software developers that are part of the community and that are building hundreds, thousands of extensions, providing, yeah, you have 2,500 at this point. It's huge. The possibilities of this tool are crazy. Anyways, and yeah, last point is that there's no tracking or telemetry. They are not sending your data anywhere. They are not capturing information about the ways in which you are using the tool or the data that you are storing in the tool. They don't care. They value privacy a lot. And that's really awesome. Okay, some more recommendations. So now it didn't move forward very much, but you have chosen a tool without, let's say. I have the personal knowledge / library in which you can find a list. I will add the link to the show notes. Speaking library. Yeah, I think this is the one that I need to link. Anyways, I have in that a link of a list of tools that you could use if you want to use something else than Obsidian. What I would say is that you need to keep things simple. First is really to use the system. Don't fall into the trap of trying to mimic my system or installing tons of extensions or looking at all of the options. Doesn't matter. Start using it. Write at least 100 notes before you even consider doing anything else. Don't create folders. Don't add tags. Don't add links. You can do that step by step later on. It doesn't matter. But you will not know if knowledge management is for you if you don't first start using it for real. Second thing is you could start journaling. I personally use my journal, and by journal I just mean notes that you can take every day. So you just have one note every day with the notes of the day, basically. So this could be, for instance, the list of things that you want to do, the things of notes, a few notes that you've taken. So it's just a scratch pad with ideas. So I need to call my father, need to blah, blah, blah. You can do whatever you want. Oh, I learned that blah, 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 something came out. Whatever you want. But this can be a great entry point for your new knowledge, for your new pieces of information that you want to capture. it's just the simplest way. And I do this every day. Every time I take notes, what I do is basically add blah, blah, blah here to my discovered today section. And at some point, I turn those into separate notes in the system. But you can start with just this, and you can use this for 100 days, and you will find things back. You can say, oh, this is about writing. Oh, this is about project management. Yeah, just invent whatever you want, but you can tag things and you can start simple. Basically, that's my point. Just get the habit or build the habit of capturing knowledge inside of your system. And you see, I did not mention the rest. I did not mention the way to curate information or the way to capture highlights or transition notes from paper to your knowledge base or connecting to different platforms and whatnot. I mean, as I said, the system matters a lot, but I think that before trying to build and expand the system, people should first actually use what they have. They should build the habit of taking notes and writing and capturing knowledge before even thinking about, just the techniques and the systems and the structures and the different tools and how to combine them and how to configure them. That can come later on. So another thing is avoid perfectionism. It's all right if it's broken at some point in different places. I'm sure if I open a few quotes here and there, you will see that some of them still have my old structures, and it's not good, it's not perfect, I don't care. It doesn't matter. I mean, consider every single thing or note or idea that you have in a system as transient, something that's going to evolve over time. Some people call that evergreen notes. Don't have a good example here. Those are fine. But what I mean to say is that you should treat your ideas like cattle and not like pets. And the same goes with your notes. It's all right. You can improve them. You can delete some. You can fix some when you find time to do it. Avoid the trap of hopping from tool to tool. Just choose one. If you don't know what to use, then use Obsidian for now. But don't spend your time trying to find the perfect thing. It doesn't exist. You will always have limitations, issues. It changes all the time. There are hundreds of apps. So just pick something and stick with it. Another point is to avoid hoarding. So the goal, never forget that the goal is not to capture everything that you come across. There's not too much here, but it's just because I'm a fan of collecting quotes. I know it's not great, but I love doing it. It's fun for me, so that's why I'm doing it. But I try to avoid falling into the collector's fallacy. The goal is not to capture information, it's to capture information that you can do something with. If I have those quotes, it's because I like to see those from time to time. I find those inspiring, and I can use those to write my articles or include some of those in my articles and point to those. And so they are valuable. And all of the pieces of information that I capture in my system, I do it with a certain goal in mind. I want the information to be actionable. I don't just want to accumulate knowledge. I want to have wisdom. I want to use that knowledge to do something useful. We are going to lack a bit of time, cannot cover all of the points that I wanted, but one thing that you can explore, I will just mention it here, is that I have documented this knowledge management proficiency ladder. Don't take this as the Bible, it's just the idea that I had while preparing my course, but I can see different levels in the practice of knowledge management. So first you take notes. That's step one, that's great. Can be any-form, analog, digital. I do find a ton of value in going digital for the reasons that I mentioned. You can find things back, you can connect things easily, you can combine, you can include notes in each other's, etc. You can, at level 3, centralize everything in one tool. And actually, I want you to start at least at this level, level 3. So use a tool for doubt, get rid or at least consider your personal information silos, so those little islands with little pieces of your information, get rid of as many of those as you can, and try to centralize as much as you can in one single place, because that's when you are going to be able to connect and leverage the information much more, and you will avoid spending too much time going from place to place to find something, etc. And so you can then, once you have used it for a while, get to the higher levels, and so you can start organizing, because you realize that, yeah, I have created 200 nodes in here, and it's quite messy. I'm losing myself. Then it's maybe time to take a look at different ways you can use to organize the information, and how you can tag information to find things back more easily. Then you can develop the way you use the system you use, the approach you use to capture new information, to be more mindful about the content that you want to consume. And so from step by step, level by level inside of that ladder, you expand your knowledge management system, you make it more useful. And yeah, that's when I think that going up and up in the ladder, that's when you actually have the most leverage, or create the most leverage with your system. Anyways, too little time. If you want, we can have another session explaining more about that. I also have explanations about the PKM process. This could be an entire session, I think. Basically, it's what I just discussed, the fact that over time you want to climb the ladder, and as you climb the ladder, your system is going to include or cover, take care of more and more phases of this knowledge management process, because knowledge management is not only about the last stage or the last stages of having information captured in your system, but actually it goes from the point where you discover something that looks interesting because you want to curate information and consume it, etc. And all of those phases you can map with one or multiple tools. In my case, Obsidian is the thing that I use for many of those phases. But for instance, curation, I still currently use Readwise for that. And when I consume, I use different tools to take the information that I care about and store it in here. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and then as you see so far in the talk, and we are going to have to stop soon, but I did not mention much about knowledge management concepts, methods, and best practices. These are mentioned in the proficiency ladder, at least some of those. I have a list here that I will include in the talk resources, a list of different techniques and tools and ways you can use to just level up in the way that you implement knowledge management, the practice, and the way you leverage your system. So for instance, you have the power method that is really popular, created by Tiago Forte. I have notes about that. I mentioned maps of content at some point, but I didn't want to dive first because we don't have time for a first session about knowledge management, but second, because again, just start with building the habit, and later on you can improve the way in which you are doing things. And you might find things that you think, okay, this is great. Now I really need this. But when you get to that point, it will be because you know that you have a need for those. And you will not, I don't want you to basically lose time, waste time now reading all of this because you think that you need this to be able to do anything useful with knowledge management. It's not the case. Just having a blank slate, an empty Obsidian vault with a journal, or even without a journal, just you go there, you click new note, and you start writing. And you do that for 30 days, and you tell me afterwards if you find something useful in there. And then, and only then, you can go back and learn more about the techniques, because they are not mandatory. All right, almost done for today. I think that we've covered a lot of ground. I hope that I was able to convey what knowledge management is about. So both the practice and system, how these relate to each other and why they are both important. So the system, we have clear way or clear place where you store information, and the practice that you need to integrate in everything that you do if you want the system to be useful. And so, yeah, you can later on build yourself a system. It's actually something that I have covered in great detail in my course. Yeah. And as you can see, yeah, in the course, I do have modules that are more practical. I have also included this link inside of the course, the workshop resources. So it's my own handbook. So I have documentation about my own system, and that documentation covers many things. So going from things that I want to improve, but I have time to do that, to the tools that I'm using for the different phases of the process, why I'm using those, etc. Yeah, it's basically the full documentation. And beyond that, there's also, and I've included it there, but I will put it here. There's a template that I've created and included in my course for documenting your own system. So from starting from the point that you accept the idea, yeah, it's a messy sentence, but if you understand and accept the idea that you need to build a system, then it might be useful to have this template, to use this template, because that way you can document your system while you are building it. So being more mindful about the way in which it grows, yeah, because the system needs to be taken care of. And yeah, the last point that I want to discuss, and then I will stop for today. It's this question I've read multiple times recently on social media from people that are quite knowledgeable about knowledge management, that now that AI is here and gets more and more powerful each week, knowledge management doesn't make sense or is much less useful today. So what I would say about that is that no, that's not the case. I don't think so. What is true is that maybe you need to capture less information than before, in the sense that when you are learning about something new, for instance, you might learn something about IT and understand how do you build a website, or do you take care of the design of the website, things like that, CSS and whatnot, HTML. You might want or be tempted to take notes about the thing that you are learning about. But the truth is that AI has been trained on most of the internet today. And so the information that you would capture is most probably part of the knowledge corpus or the information corpus that AIs have available. So you can ask any question about HTML or CSS or design and many other topics directly to AI. And so in that sense, those notes will not be very valuable. But what is still true is that if you do take notes, even though AI could fill in the blanks for you, you go through you force your brain basically to integrate the information deeply enough. It helps to build mental models. It helps to memorize at least a part of the information. And I think, yeah, the most valuable is the ability to create a mental model. Because when you write, you think, because you have to express the ideas. And so in that sense, even if AI knows it all and knows more and more and can do more and more over time, it does not replace the need for you to build yourself mental models. The same discussion I have had recently with a software developer colleague who was telling me, what's the point of learning about IT anymore if AI is going to be able to do everything? The thing is that AI is going to follow instructions. And if you cannot express the way in which something should be done or the different important points when that thing is going to be done, then AI is going to do whatever it wants. And maybe that's what you need. Maybe that's not the case. And so for a software developer, having solid mental models and a solid understanding of the topics is still really valuable, because it enables you to express what you want in a much clearer way. And so that's why I'm saying that knowledge management is still highly relevant. It helps to learn actively. It still enables creating a knowledge base for yourself, things that AI could not know. AI is not going to know that next week, Tuesday, you need to do this or do that because you want to. Yes, it could. You could provide information to it, but it would not happen if you didn't have this system, or you would have to find different ways. Yeah, yet my point is, yeah, knowledge management is actually as relevant as before. And I would even say that it's more relevant than before now, because you can leverage whatever you have in your knowledge base with AI. So you can pass, here, for instance, I have in my knowledge base different prompts that I'm passing to AI. And I also have prompts that I generate based on my notes on certain topics. And so I could take all of the notes that I have about project management, for instance, pass those into some AI in one go, and start asking questions about, yeah, what are the gaps in my understanding, in my knowledge about this or that, or what should I learn next, or what should I do next for this project. And so knowledge management in that sense enables better using AI. So first you can store your prompts that you can just reuse with AI, and then you can also provide more useful context to AI because you have it available. If I want to tell AI who I am and what I do and what I care about, I can point it to this long note. And this note describes who I am, what I do, what I write about. It explains about my current projects, my story, blah, blah, blah. And yes, there is maybe a limit or a barrier to be found or to be placed regarding what you are going to give to AI or not, knowing that they are probably going to train their next version based on your inputs. But if you put for a second the data privacy issues aside, knowledge management enables passing the right information at the right time because you have it in your system. And if you don't have a system, then you have to make something up to pass the information to it. Anyways, that was a lot of me talking again. I hope that this was interesting. So yeah, just let me know what you think. If you found value in the explanations about, or at least my vision about knowledge management. And if you have questions, don't hesitate. I'm always available and happy to help. That's it for today. Goodbye.